Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Colorado Proposition 121 on your state ballot initiative to reduce taxes.
That's right. It reduces state income taxes. The state income tax in Colorado for individuals and corporations is 4.55% today.
Doesn't matter how much money you make. It's the same for everybody.
It's the same for everybody. Everybody pays 4.55%. It used to be that the tax rate was 4.63%. And in 2020, voters in Colorado voted to reduce it to 4.55%.
So this is the same bill 2 years later to slightly reduce it again.
Right, and now it's going to be reduced. If this measure gets approved, it will be reduced from 4.55% to 4.40%. What's the impact of this thing?
What this is going to do is it's going to reduce the general fund budget next year. There's a bunch of state spending that the legislature doesn't really control because it comes from the federal government. So think of like Medicaid, a lot of healthcare spending, but all the K-12 spending,
other social welfare programs.
Basically every social program that exists come from the state, including universities.
And they come from the general fund. If this passes, it will reduce the revenue into the general fund, money for the state to use. It'll be reduced by $412 million or 2.4%.
Now, opponents will say that really sucks, that the legislature already struggles allocating what's there. They are already having to make hard decisions.
Yeah, and this means less money for schools or potholes or anything, right?
For anything. Now, proponents of this are going to point that the general fund has grown tremendously over the last 20 years. In 2001, the state government had $12.9 billion in all funds and $5.6 billion in general funds. By 2021, that grew to $36 billion for all funds and $12 billion for general funds. Now keep in mind, our economy's grown tremendously and so has our population. So if you adjust for inflation and you adjust for population, you look at this per capita, you're going to see that the general fund per person has grown by 39% over 20 years.
If I were to try to say that in a way that people will understand it, what you're saying is government spending in Colorado has grown really fast, even when you control for population and inflation. So basically government getting bigger, but don't you think the government is doing a lot more now than it used to do? I mean, it has to get bigger. As a state, we used to be like Wyoming, but we're really not anymore. We're an international business hub, and we're really proud of that in Colorado. So we really shouldn't be surprised that our government is doing more.
Now, you could make a reasonable argument that the government does more, but the government is still overfunded because there's going to be Tabor refunds expected for the next 3 years.
Yeah, so Tabor is this law in Colorado that says if the government collects more than it's allowed to spend, it has to give that money back to the people. And guess what? The government has been collecting more than it's allowed to spend anyway.
It's facing a surplus in the budget.
So your argument is the government doesn't need any more money anyway.
Not necessarily my argument, but the people who are advocating for this are saying, time to tighten the belt of government. It's just growing too fast.
And just generally, we should shrink government just a little bit. That's what this measure is saying.
Suck it in.
So what does this tax reduction actually mean for you in terms of the dollars that you'll get back from the government? Take a look at this table we're going to throw up on the screen here. Taxpayers making about $100,000 are going to get back about $129 per year. And if you make $50,000, you're going to get back about $63 every year. Now, people making over $1 million, they're going to get back well over $6,000 per year on average. And that's the point that a lot of opponents are making. This thing is going to put a lot of money back into the pockets of the wealthy. Almost 50% of the total tax savings from this bill are going to go directly into the pockets of people making $1 million or more.
Russell, how are you going to vote on it?
I'm going to vote no, because I think that the taxpayers in Colorado already would get money back through Tabor that they're not spending. I think that having a broad base, a broad brush approach of just reducing income taxes without thinking about that impact very much, I don't think that's the right way to do it. So I'm going to say no, vote no on this one.
I'm also a no on this. I'm more sympathetic than Russell is to the argument that government's growing way too fast relative to the private sector, and that doesn't really make any sense. Companies shouldn't be competing with government for employees, but I don't think this is good policy. I'm not seeing this cutting the programs that I do want cut. We need a scalpel. You got to cut out the bad stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that the government does. We don't need to constrain that.
And on that note, I'm going to cut out the bad stuff. Welcome to One Guy, One Ballot. Check out our other videos. You're going to see a lot of other tax-related measures, things that will raise taxes or give information about taxes that are on your ballot this year. So check them out. Thanks a lot, guys.